Okay, we are now recording.
Okay, so welcome everyone. This is the Amherst Energy and Climate Action Committee, which was organized to guide the town in meeting its climate mitigation and resilience goals. Those goals and the plan for getting there are adopted from the Climate Action Adaptation and Resilience Plan, or the CARP, which was accepted by the Town Council in 2021. It took 2016 as its base year, calling for a 25% reduction in carbon emissions by 2025, 50% by 2030, and carbon neutrality by 2050. So this committee has two primary functions along the way to carbon neutrality. One is to advise the town council and recommend or propose policies or actions that'll help us meet those goals. And two, to promote a just, equitable, and speedy climate response through outreach and engagement of town and local stakeholders. And with that, the first thing on the agenda is always reviewing the minutes from last time, so I can share my screen here. Just do this, share ECAC minutes. There we go. Can you guys see that okay? Is it big enough?
Can you make it a little bigger, Lori?
Yeah, okay, hold on, I'll make it fill the screen.
I think that's better for me. I don't know about others.
How's that?
It's good.
Okay, so I'll do a quick scan through them. Yeah, I'm afraid I hadn't had a chance to look at these beforehand, but I wouldn't say that to calculate the cost of renewable diesel is generally disagreed upon. I would say there is no good way to do it. How to calculate the carbon is there. I would say that I mean, it's just very complicated, right? So unless you are, except if it's local, right? It's just not possible to do reliably. So maybe I can wordsmith this a little bit, that sentence right there. Just to make it read, let's see, something like, or we could just leave it out. Why don't we just leave it out?
I would just leave it out, yeah.
Okay.
Let's strike it.
Drucker will be, okay. Drucker will be draft, will draft. I think the word be is extraneous there. So if we can strike that. You're getting this, Stephanie?
Yeah, sorry, just that last one that
You just mentioned where were you looking?
Right here, there's an extraneous word.
Oh, right, got it.
I can try to take, whoops, where is it? Where's the strikeout
It's
thing?
all right. I'll have to do it anyway.
Okay, well, draft letter to the town manager. Right, overview of climate bill and smart program update. Any comments here? Okay, heat pumps, and I think that pretty much brought us to updates. Is this the right name?
yes.
From
That's
Arlie Ben?
correct. Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
All right. Okay. Any other comments? If not, do we have a move to accept the minutes?
Lori, can you post the minutes and
Have everybody visible so
Yep.
that can be recorded. Thank you.
We need a motion to approve the minutes.
I motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Tony.
Hey, and in no,
No particular order. Goldner,
Yes,
Allison,
Don is muted.
I'll skip you, Dawn. I'll come back to you. I can't hear you. Linung,
You're muted, Don.
Yes.
Sorry.
Drucker,
Yes.
Davis,
yes.
Kissing,
Abstain.
okay, and McElrath,
Yes.
and Allison.
I'm a little confused, Stephanie. These are the minutes from the 12/21 meeting? That I was, that I was,
12/18. If you weren't there,
There you can abstain.
no, I was at the 12/18 meeting. I wasn't at the,
Is the date,
what?
was the date wrong or something?
The date might be wrong, I'll correct it, but it's 12/18.
Then yes.
Okay. I made a note. Okay, and Andrew, I'm sorry, did you say yes?
I did.
Okay, all right, the minutes are approved.
All right, next thing on the agenda is always public comment, but we do not have any attendees. So I think we will wait till the end, see if anybody wants to comment then. And move on to the presentation by Marina Gallant. Marina,
Yes, hello.
hi. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Do we have a minutes taker?
Oh, I forgot. Thank you very much.
I can do it. I think I'm next.
Thank you, Andrew.
No worries.
And thank you for the reminder. It should be an agenda item so that my old brain doesn't just gloss right over it.
Agreed.
All right, thank you, Andrew. Marina, go ahead. Stephanie, do you want to introduce Marina?
Sure. So we're very fortunate to be working with Marina Gallant from the Center for Ecotechnology on our heat pump program. And we've been meeting for several months now. She's been working diligently with the team at CET to develop a plan for outreach and engagement and how to distribute the incentive funding. So with that, I will hand it over to Marina.
Thanks. I'm gonna just share my screen here. All right. Can we all see my, oh, no, need to hit the share button. All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. All right, so yeah, I will be walking us through the heat pump incentive program that we'll be administering for Amherst residents. For agenda here, I'm also looking this way because my slide is here. I'm not ignoring you all. So we'll start with just an introduction, what the program is, what we're hoping to achieve, and some program goals. Walk through the program overall, what our steps are for the program, kind of how we'll do start to finish as homeowners are reaching out to us, the timeline for start to finish, what this program will look like, some benefits, some goals for the program, and then we'll end with plenty of time for Q&A, and the contact information for the program will be at the end as well. To start, to introduce the program, the key objective is to help empower Amherst homeowners to transition to energy efficient heat pumps. We want to do that a variety of ways that I'll go through later, but we want to offer an incentive for them as well as help them feel confident in making the choice by doing a lot of education of what heat pumps are, the technology, kind of pros and cons that they feel confident making that decision. Some kind of key reasons why we're doing this, why it matters. Help reduce energy costs for Amherst residents. Heat pumps are very efficient, and so by doing that, we'll help them switch to a cleaner and more efficient technology for their homes. Support the sustainability goals of the town itself, as well as help reduce dependence on delivered fossil fuels. So that's our goal, is to get homeowners off of oil, propane, and natural gas and switch to a more efficient and cleaner source of energy. The overview for the program, like I said, our purpose is to provide both financial and logistical support for heat pump installs. So we'll be doing kind of a one-stop shop approach of being able to offer everything that a homeowner might need in order to make the switch for heat pumps. We'll have two different sources for incentives, and we're doing this a lot to model what Mass Save currently does because their incentives are so generous for homeowners. So we'll have a kind of two-tiered option for incentives. For those that are approved for enhanced incentive, which is Mass Save's kind of moderate income program, we'll have $3,500 available for incentives for those customers. And for the market rate customers that are just kind of the standard, your regular homeowner, look at $2,500. The enhanced incentive customers, heat pumps are expensive, and we want to make sure that those that need more financial support are able to access that. So hence the two-tiered approach. Those that might need more financial support upfront will get a higher incentive. Those that might be able to get other funding sources or use financing, et cetera, will have slightly less of an incentive structure for them. Along with the financial support, we'll also have a variety of support that we'll be offering to homeowners. A lot of it will be manual J assessments, which is a way for us to assess what size equipment works best for their home. So we'll be doing that for every interested customer that comes through the program. With that, we'll be offering support for helping them find licensed contractors and reviewing quotes from those contractors. And we'll be able to work with them directly of, this contractor says this is what you should have. They have this technical info on the quote. We'll be able to help walk the homeowners through that so that they feel confident in making that decision and to kind of reduce the stress of navigating that on their own. We'll also help them with additional program incentives like Mass Save that they'd be eligible for. This will be a great use and we'll be able to get a lot of customers approved this way. But if we were just doing this solo with only $3,500, we wouldn't see a lot of homeowners wanting to take advantage of it. So we want to maximize everything that they're eligible for and help them get the Mass Save rebates because those are generous so that they can kind of maximize their ability to get the equipment installed. So our kind of key steps here for success. Our first question, regardless of how customers get to us, either through various outreach events, we have interested parties that we get through other programs that we currently work with in the area. However they come to us, our first step will always be to ask if they've had a home energy assessment and if they've had any weatherization work done. Again, we want to maximize everything that they are eligible for and make sure that heat pumps are the best solution for their home. If their home isn't insulated and it's poorly insulated, by installing heat pumps, they're not going to see that much of a benefit. They're actually going to see higher utility bills and they're not going to get really anything from it. They're just going to be like, well, why did I do this? I'm paying a lot of money and I'm not really feeling the benefits. So by insulating their home, they're going to see more benefit in actually getting heat pumps installed. And it'll actually mean they have they can do a smaller system for their home. So they have to pay even less upfront as well. So we want to just maximize the comfort that they have, maximize just everything that they can get and make sure that they're not getting a larger sized equipment than they need for their home. So that's step one. After that work is done, we'll schedule the manual J assessment that we'll perform. We'll do that to, again, determine what equipment they actually need, what system will work, what size equipment they need, all of that stuff. And we'll send them a report after that, documenting all of that. We'll also help them with finding a heat pump contractor and reviewing quotes. So again, like our frame of reference that we use is 3 quotes from 3 different contractors, so that you can kind of compare, not going with the cheapest or one that is the first on the list, just really doing some research and finding 3 and getting 3 different quotes because they can be very different. So we'll help customers navigate that and find the one that works best for them and make sure that the contractor is giving them a quote for the correct size system for their home. Once they found a contractor, we'll provide them with an incentive contract, basically stating, this is your contractor, this is how much of an incentive we agree to pay once the work is done. And that basically will look like they pay $10,000 total for the system. We'll do 3,500, so they only have to pay 6,500, and then it'll just be reduced. So they won't pay it directly. We'll pay the contractor after the work is done. Once the work is complete, well, they'll work with the contractor at that point to get the work installed, then send us an invoice once it's complete. The last step will be we'll do a verification visit to confirm the work was done. Just in case, like, they're sending us a photo of someone else's home, we just want to make sure the equipment is getting installed where it was stated. And then after that, we'll pay the incentive to the contractor. Excuse me.
So could I ask some questions at this point, or should we wait till the end?
Sorry.
What
Yeah,
would you
ideally.
prefer?
Sorry, 1 second.
Sure.
Sorry, swallowed wrong. Excuse me. Yeah, ideally at the end.
Okay.
Losing my voice. Yeah, but we can pause if you want to ask questions while my voice comes back to me.
Oh, okay. So now is okay.
Yeah, we can do a temporary while I.
Okay, yeah, because this is
Mhm.
sort of the program. What I didn't understand from the slides and what I'm still not understanding is what part of the incentive, it sounds like these are mass save incentives. What part of this is coming through the Amherst fund? Right? I think folks are going to want to know how this is different from, how is this, in addition to the help that they're getting with the Manual J and finding and quote comparisons and stuff like that, the actual money they're getting, is it all coming from Mass Save, or is some part of it coming from Amherst, from the?
Yeah,
fund?
so they'll get $10,000 from Mass Save, but then they'll get an additional up to 3,500 from the town of Amherst.
Okay, so on the previous page, when you said, so that doesn't show up on here. If you go back to slide 4, backwards, yeah. Incentive offerings listed there, those look like the Mass Save offerings, right?
Those are the Amherst incentives. Yeah.
Okay, those are the additional incentives offered through Amherst. On top of the Mass Save, 1250 or whatever it is now per ton, and 10,000 for a whole house.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, Lori, I just want to jump in. I just wanted to be clear that this is only the Amherst program. So reviewing the Mass Save incentives is part of the program, but in terms of the funding that we're talking about right now, this is only
Okay,
our ARPA funding. So
All
this
right.
is what Amherst is offering on top of Mass Save.
gotcha. Okay, so I would make that clear by putting Amherst incentive offerings in addition to Mass Save there somewhere, so that folks know that's what this is about. Otherwise, I think it's not clear.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I should make that more clear. Yeah, this is only for Amherst. We want to do it in
Yeah.
conjunction with Mass Save,
Right.
but
and
for
it's-
this
and
purpose of
it's
the
an addition-
presentation,
Right, and
we're
it's
only
in
talking
addition
about
to
what we'll
Mass
offer through the town.
Save. Okay, Michael?
Just yeah, just, and I don't know if this has been covered, but like, so does that mean like this is, we would, if a household wanted Mass Save incentives, they would have to still go through kind of the Mass Save program and then also go through this program in parallel? Or is there like economies, is there overlapping scopes, submissions and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's kind of that's a good question. It is kind of both. Like if they just want to do Mass Save, say they're not a resident of Amherst, there won't be any overlap, but we want to make it as seamless of a process for those that want to take advantage of Mass Save. So to
Right.
start the kind of steps outlined here, this is also a visual. I think this is easier to kind of see the whole process of what I just went through. This can be done in conjunction with Mass Save. So they'll do a home energy assessment. They'll get the weatherization work done through Mass Save or another avenue if they're like a lower income customer and they go through the CAP agency, for instance, they'll get that done through them or through Mass Save. And then they'll kind of still be going through this similar process if they weren't an Amherst resident. We're just kind of helping them facilitate with their heat pump work. So we're helping them do a manual J and find the appropriate size equipment for their home. And then they're still going to get the work done and they still have to apply for like Mass Save rebates anyway. They'll just be a little bit more informed with the equipment that they need, and we'll make sure that it's to Mass Save standards so that they can get that additional work. So it's not like they have to do 2 full separate applications and this is a completely separate program. We want it to work as seamless as we can so that they can get the 3,500 or 2,500 depending on, you know, what level that they are, and then also the Mass Save work.
Some local contractors will do the application, the Mass Save application for you. They don't always get it right, but they'll do it for you.
Yeah.
So that helps.
Yeah, which is why we offer the manual J as well. They'll have a report that they can just give to the contractor, even if they're not doing Mass Save, just regardless, whatever contractor that they want to work with. And then they can base their quote and the work that they want to install on that report. So they're not just going in blind of, I need to get heat pumps. Hopefully the contractor will tell me. They'll be able to be more informed and say, this is the size equipment that I need. It should, you know, be eligible for Mass Save. Here's what works, and be able to have that conversation better with the contractor.
Yeah, for the manual J, contractors often do that themselves too, but they do a very cursory job and they tend to get it wrong by factors of 2 in either direction. You can get anything you want in a manual J from a contractor. So what does a manual J look like from your end? Do you have folks coming in and actually spending a lot of time in the house and measuring windows and measuring walls and, you know, doing what's really involved in a good manual J, or do you also use rules of thumb and quick ways of?
Oh, yeah, we do a full assessment. So it's about, depending on the size of the home, about 2 hours, sometimes 3.
Okay.
And then we do a full, for this, I believe we'll be using Conduit Tech, which is a full scope service. It's very detailed. We'll be able to draft a really detailed report of here's all of the areas of your home that might need to be upgraded. Here's the size equipment that works based on your home, based on all these things that we found. So yeah, we won't do a cursory glance. It'll be a very in-depth assessment.
That is awesome.
Yeah, we want customers to feel informed, and we don't want them to feel like we're just like, whatever. We just want you to get this installed. We don't care how you do it. We want them to feel confident and know that they're making the right decision. So if it's small sized equipment, large equipment, like we want them to know this will work for your home. It's not just, this is what we say to everyone, is this is unique to you in your scenario.
Yeah, I'd love to learn more about that, but we can do that offline. I mean, as an energy coach, getting a good manual J is often the biggest sticking point, right, in trying to advise clients on what they might want to get. So that would be really interesting to talk some more to you about that offline.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Other questions? In that case, you want to go on, Marina?
Yeah, so this is just a visual of the slide before. I can go back for reference, just kind of summing up. Here's kind of the process for customers, as simple as we can make it. The timeline for this program, we're in mid-January. Our goal is to start a press release and administer flyers, kind of advertising the program throughout the community this month. We'll be starting our pilot. We want to start with 3 customers to start, do a full manual J, do all the reporting, help them get the installs, just to make sure there's no, nothing that we missed, to make sure if there's anything that customers feel like we should spend more time or less time on, we can make those adjustments, and then go live with the full program in April. That also will coincide with the sustainability fair that we'll be at as well. So we want to roll it out and then be at the sustainability fair where we can help customers get signed up, ask those initial questions as well. And then the month before, in March, we'll have our first virtual information session. We'll be talking about the program itself, what heat pumps are, the benefits, pros and cons, all of that. That will be started in March. And then our second one will be in September. So our aim right now, at least for 2025, is once every 6 months with a goal of doing 2 informational sessions in the year. We'll hold 2 in 2026 as well, but the program is slated to end December 2026. So we don't want to do the same timeline of March and then September, and then customers learn about it in September and they have like 2 months to get everything installed before the program ends. So we'll probably move up those 2 informational sessions in 2026 based on needs and when makes the most sense. But for right now in 2025, January is when we'll kind of start. We'll do a press release, administer the flyers, do our first pilot with 3 customers in February, first informational session in March, launch the program fully in April, and then have a virtual informational session in September, which I didn't put it on here, but did mention in future slides, we'll be at the block party in September as well. So we'll have 2 in-person events that we'll be at in the town, and then we'll have 2 virtual sessions that we'll host as well. So the largest part about this is the incentives we'll be offering to heat pump customers, but the second largest part is the education aspect around heat pumps. The biggest thing about this is we want customers to feel informed and confident before getting these heat pumps installed in their homes. And a large part of that is education. Heat pumps are a hot topic and everyone's talking about them, but I think there's a lot of still uncertainty about what it is, why customers should switch, even what they are. I have a lot of customers still who if you say mini splits, they understand. If they say heat pumps, they don't. So kind of giving them the education of here's what they are, and here's kind of what you can expect if you get them installed is super important. Like I mentioned in the previous slide, we'll have in-person events as well as the virtual events. So in person, we'll have flyers we'll be distributing. Our outreach team will be just actively engaged with the community as well through other outreach events that we host in the surrounding area, and those 2 in-person events, like I mentioned, the sustainability fair and the block party. And then we'll have the 2 virtual events as well that'll be really focused on the technology and the benefits to heat pumps, as well as just information about the program itself, how to get involved, what it is, kind of next steps. We'll host those. And the key benefits, like I mentioned earlier, we want to help customers and homeowners reduce their carbon emissions by getting off of delivered fossil fuels. We want to help lower the barrier to entry for heat pump installs. They can be expensive, and we want to make it easier for customers to make that switch and assist with the sustainability goals of the town. Our goals for this program, we want to do at least 30 heat pump installations for homeowners across the 2 years and reach at least 1,000 customers through outreach and education events, which I think is more than attainable with the amount of in-person and virtual events that we'll do, but that's kind of our minimum goal. We'd like to at least reach 1,000 customers through that and then see 30 full installations. And that's kind of the end of the presentation. There's a lot more to it, so I think there's plenty of time here to go through any questions. This is also the contact information for the program. So phone number and email, they're all set. We have a team already on them. So if you have any customers that are ready to go and want to call, here's the contact information you can give them. But yeah, I will open it up if there's any questions or anything you'd like me to expand upon.
Go ahead, Don.
Yeah. Is there any, I mean, I can imagine since heat pumps are run by electricity, I can imagine there'll be questions from people about, the cost of electricity versus the cost of whatever else they have heating their home. Is there any kind of, I mean, I know that's hard to pin down, but I can just imagine that coming up in any discussion of, encouraging people or providing people information with the purposes of encouraging them to install heat pumps.
Yeah, absolutely. We do see that a lot, especially switching from natural gas to heat pumps. Gas is cheap. Electricity right now is not that cheap. So that's part of it as well, is heat pumps are not always the best solution for every home. And making customers feel informed in making that decision. And some might not. Some might be just very like, I want to get off fossil fuels. I understand that it's going to be higher utility bills, but I don't want to be on fossil fuels anymore. And some might be like, I can't afford that. I know fossil fuels aren't great, but this works best for my family, and we want to help them feel like that's the best decision for them. So that's part of it too. We definitely want to get the installations, but it's not going to work for everyone, and so we want them to be aware of that. So that's a big part of it, definitely.
Laura, go ahead.
Yeah, no, super exciting. Thank you so much for this presentation. I had a similar comment to Lori when I was looking through the slides before about how this interacts with the other incentives that people can get through Mass Save. So I think just wanting to make sure that we do a good job clarifying that in any flyers and outreach that we do, so that it's not seen as like, oh, this is a lesser program, and if I do this, I can't do Mass Save. Like I'm assuming that would be a question that people would have. So being very clear that this is in addition to benefits you can get from Mass Save. I assume it also would be in addition to, or not impact someone's ability to like get a heat loan or something like that.
Correct. Yep.
But yeah, we should just be ready to answer those questions.
Yeah, definitely.
That's actually an interesting question, Laura, because the heat loan, the limit on the heat loan is determined not only, it's not a fixed limit, right? It's how much you get in incentives plus loan, if I remember right. So if you get additional incentives through Amherst, does that decrease the amount of heat loan you can take out?
Yeah, yes, that's we do have contacts at the heat loan department. So we kind of work with them to make that distinction, because yeah, it is like if you have a $15,000 equipment and you want to finance, they'll give you 5,000 because you can get a rebate for 10. So in this case, it would be you'd get 2,500 as the finance, and we'd cover that remaining incentive amount. It's basically it's supplemental to what Mass Save offers. Obviously, Mass Save offers a lot more, but it's taking the place of a customer payment versus a rebate. So the customer won't ever have to pay it and then they get the money back. We'll pay the contractor directly, so it'll just lessen their contribution. So it'll lessen how much they have to finance. And we would just let the heat loan department know that.
Okay.
Yeah, no, good questions.
Other questions? Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, hi. I jumped in late. I just came from another meeting. This was maybe a bigger question. What do we know about increasing the electrical supply as we promote electrification around the region? What are we doing, or CET doing? What are we doing to improve the amount of renewable electricity on the grid?
Very good question. I don't have a full answer to that. I think that's a larger like utility scale question, but definitely something to consider for sure. I know we currently are the lead vendor for Berkshire Gas in this territory. So they're obviously a gas utility provider, so they're not doing much for electric work. But it's always something. I know all the Eversource, National Grid are continually thinking about that, especially as we go into a new 3-year plan with Mass Save and the larger push for electrification. So that's definitely on their mind. Yeah, I'd love to know exactly what they're doing as well.
Can I?
And I think that was also kind of a prompt for all of us on this committee. We need to be thinking about that constantly, because if we increase electrification but don't increase renewable electricity, we're going to be just getting more natural gas power plants built out.
Can I jump in, Steve? Sorry, I have a response for you.
Yes, thank you.
Because I've attended some workshops that that Eversource has put on and National Grid jointly have put on to address this very issue. They are obviously well aware of what the state's goals are which is pushing electrification. So it's not an Amherst specific issue. Obviously, it's a state issue. If not, I would say even a national issue. So the response that we've gotten so far has been they are aware, they are working on it. They should be able to meet the need. I'm taking that at face value, but that's at least what the utilities have said. So it's not like we're doing this in a vacuum and they're not
Right.
aware.
If it's helpful, I know that UMass does the same thing with their substation that they draw from. They're in constant negotiations about what their needs are going to be in the future and how fast they're going to be able to get that. And they regularly let the utilities or the ISO, I'm not even sure which, know what their needs are, and they're always talking about it. So I think that's just an ongoing, a different level. It's ongoing at a very different level from what we do.
There's also the factor of economies of scale. It's more efficient to generate electricity from a central location and then for individuals to be burning fossil fuels for heat.
Stephanie, did you have another question?
No, sorry, I forgot to put my hand down.
Okay, I had one I was gonna ask. Will this be connected to the dashboard in any way so that we can see what the running numbers are on houses that are getting converted through the program, or even just in general?
They're going to have a website, so I would think we can ask that we have some kind of tally
Yeah,
on their website for the
That'd be cool.
participation rate. And then our,
tally and how much CO2 saved and this sort of thing,
well, yeah, typically what happens is our dashboard would connect with their page.
Okay. Other questions? So if there are no more questions, thank you again, Marina, and thanks for the contact information. We know how to reach you if we have more questions. I think this is great. I'm very excited. I encourage you, I was going to give an update later, but I'll just mention now that there is a growing energy coaching effort in the Pioneer Valley that will hopefully come online sometime in the near future that might be a good contact too for doing outreach and doing just exchange of information on contractors that everybody seems to use and this sort of thing that we've had success with.
Yeah.
That might be useful.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we're always looking for more resources and ways we can get contractors and everyone involved. So yeah, but thanks for letting me join and present. Yeah, definitely more to come. We'll have a website and all these things where I made that note that we'll have like a running total. I think that's a great idea.
That'd be pretty cool.
Lori, I had just raised
go
my
ahead,
hand, but I just before Marina goes, I do want to be also careful because, we're obviously paying CET with our ARPA grant funding. So their time, is calculated. So I would just ask that if you all have any questions for CET, that you send them through me, please.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thanks.
Yeah, great. Yeah, the email and phone number that I listed is for the program itself. So for homeowners and stuff, you can direct them there and they can reach out with our team and get connected to get started. But yeah, anything specific for me or for kind of how the program will work can be directed through Stephanie.
So that's a good question. Should we be, as an energy coach, I get people coming to me saying they want to find out more about heat pumps. Should I, at this point, if they're in Amherst, be sending them to you and that information, or is it too early?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be doing the pilot next month and launching the program fully in April. So if you want to send them to us, we can do that introductory, see if they've had an assessment, help them get the weatherization work done so that they're ready for April. So yeah.
Oh, that was actually another question. If they haven't had an assessment, there can be quite a long lag to get one. Are you able to help with that at all?
Depending on their lead vendor, potentially. If it's if they're a Berkshire Gas customer, we'd be doing the assessment, so we'd be able to kind of help them get it sooner. I know other lead vendors currently don't have a super long wait time right now, Sometimes it's a longer wait for the weatherization work to be done. So we'll try and help facilitate that as much as we can. We're in contact with the other lead vendors, but yeah, sometimes it's a longer wait. So the sooner that we can get to them and help them start the process, the better.
I think the goal is to get this program finalized because we still had a few minor adjustments that were being made after Marina and I met earlier in the week. And once that gets finalized, I think we'll be eager to get the press release out as soon as possible.
But we can start collecting customer info in the meantime.
And I think Stephanie's already been doing that and funneling it to you.
Yeah, that's how we got our pilot customers. So that's great.
Thanks to Lori.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're super excited to start, which is great to see. So
Excellent. All right. So thank you again, Marina. Really good to hear about this. We've all been very excited waiting for this program. So this is great. Thank you.
yeah, of course. Yeah. Thanks again for having me. We're also very excited to start, and we look forward to helping you get some installs, some heat pumps. So, all right. Well, thanks again, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Good night.
Marina.
Thanks.
Okay, so next thing, moving on. Or do we have, is there any discussion of this before we move on, or? Okay,
Unless you all have anything, but otherwise, it was really meant to just be a presentation and discussion for you all.
good. Okay, so then next thing on the menu is the review of the document for the Joint Elevate ECAC event. Tony, do you want to share that one?
I can, yes. Make sure it's the right one.
And I think Tony just changed it to make it commentable.
I
so
did.
that we should now be able to go in and make comments on it, which is good.
I can see that.
My copy.
With this, I think the most important thing we do right now, also for the conservation of time today, is agree on the objective and then decide which events and activities to keep. That way we know kind of the effort and personnel we need to gather. Once we have that information, I can provide a project timeline and planning steps for the next meeting, where we can get a little bit more detailed about specific speakers or assigning roles, if that sounds good with everyone.
Right.
Because everything else is adaptable, but an objective is, yes, just to briefly read that and provide thoughts, insights, questions, concerns.
Yeah, I didn't have any comments on the objective. I personally thought it looked good.
Cool.
Others, anyone else have a? I mean, I think this is something that's puzzling to me too, which is how to get folks who, and especially folks who are eligible for lots of incentives, you know, to the table, to be talking about this and to be.
I'm pretty good at that. I have plans, plans and connections, so hopefully it actually works.
Good.
But yes, so if we all agree on the objective, we can move forward from that. And when I say let's look over the events and activities, it's just to make sure that when we have the capacity to do what it is that I proposed, but also so that in the next few weeks we can be thinking about who to assign to which activities and what to figure out for the next meeting. So I would say an ECAC representative, like one speaker from ECAC, one speaker from Elevate, and one speaker, if we can find one, from the community.
Yeah.
I'm also super open to suggestions on any of you guys' knowledge regarding community. But I think it's important that if we have this conversation to align it with the objective, we also have someone who is independent of us to also speak on kind of the movements that they're working with.
Yeah. And I
Assuming
think
that
we
sounds
mentioned
good
last
to
time
everyone.
that the chair, probably not chair of the Amherst Energy and Climate Action Committee, but one of the original members would be a better person
Yes.
to do that.
Wow.
Like, I think.
And I think I think I have someone in mind for this. I'll propose it
Who is
later
that?
so we can
Oh, okay.
yeah, I can propose it later. But she is one of the founders of Elevate, so I think that she'll be great.
Yeah, that would
And
be
so
really interesting to hear about. And then for a community leader, Stephanie, do you have any insight on that?
Well, I mean, there's several people,
Can barely hear you.
so, I mean, there's others up front, there's Leah,
There's, others. So, could think about it. I think about somebody like Sarah Ross who's working on the schools
Yeah, something
initiative. Sarah
particular.
would be a great person actually to
Sarah
engage for them,
Ross.
if she has the time and
with an
availability.
H.
No H.
So let me put
You
it
just
down.
have to, reach out.
Yeah.
I can reach out or I can direct her. I can do a virtual introduction for the both of you.
That'd
So
be
I don't know how
fantastic.
connected Mothers Out Front and Leah are to the underserved community in particular. And that's sort of what I'd love to figure out a way to, to get folks involved who are part of a environmental justice community, right? And
Yeah. Well, Sarah would be, if you want a community member representative, Sarah would be great because she's doing work with the schools. So
she would have a lot of
public schools.
connections. Yeah, that would probably be good. She would have a lot of connections. And yeah, I think that would be great, actually.
Fantastic.
So that's one suggestion anyway, but if there are others, I made a comment. Please, feel free to comment on the comments, add names. Oh, I think I'm commenting on the wrong one. I'm commenting on my copy of it. I'll put the comments in later.
Okay, I'll go into interactive breakout sessions. These I just think are super informative. I've worked a lot with the Holyoke Energy Program, and that program has a very similar format. And it's nice because those who don't have knowledge don't feel compelled to, or don't feel outsiders. They don't feel like outsiders during these kinds of activities because they usually observe or learn from those who do. So it's a very much an exchange kind of activity. And when I say policy and advocacy sessions, like one of the things that is important for ECAC to offer Elevate is a realistic understanding of how policy works. Like I said, we're all academics, so we live in the clouds half the time, and what we think exists is often either 10 years old or out of date. So I think that would be where like Stephanie or Lori or like Steve could provide insight into more pragmatic approaches to energy, specifically in policy. Thoughts? Sweet. So that would be the ECAC contribution. The community needs mapping session would be the Elevate contribution, which me and some researchers are working on developing surveys and e-surveys to gather information about where the community sees their energy needs. And then having that be an interactive session at the tables to provide a visual of where energy exists in the local spaces and also the shared spaces of the community.
So if I can go back to that first one, I was thinking about that a little bit beforehand today, and I don't know if a mock town council meeting makes sense, since there aren't really researchers at a mock town council meeting.
For sure.
Town councilors and the public.
I figured this would be kind of the basis of that through example discussing policy.
Oh, a discussal. Yeah. That might make more sense. Some sort of a discussion of policy that brings everybody in the room in. Solar can be a real hot button thing, so it might be one to.
It can be any energy program, to be honest.
Yeah.
Any. That also just depends on kind of the facilitator, which is
true.
When we can decide on the facilitator, they can use their own knowledge to fill in the specifics of that. Any comments for the community needs mapping session?
Oh, I see. Did you see, I see. I'm sorry. Is this? Okay.
Mm,
All right.
This, the third point, Stephanie, I'm glad you mentioned Sarah Ross. I have heard of Sarah Ross and her work. I think that would also be a really good base for 3, because she works within that sphere already. So thank you for providing that. So I think that one's covered.
There was a community member.
I think recently retired, who I've been in touch with, who might also be a good former high school teacher, who might be someone good. So, I mean, you could have Sarah and somebody else.
Yeah.
But I think he'd
Great.
be, his name is just totally escaping me at the moment, and I'm sorry. I'll
Cool.
get it to you though.
Yes, please. For anyone, please, if you like have thoughts or think of a person outside of this meeting, please send them my way. Cool. Resources. I think it would be also cool, random thought that I just had, but if Marina with CET could also find presence at this event as part of their outreach and education programs, that would be a cool opportunity. So I'll note that later. But resource wise, of course, each kind of gets a booth. So we could run an ECAC booth. I have no idea what you guys would be interested in having at this booth. And then
Can
we'll
I-
open to suggestions. Go
Can I
for it.
stop you? Can I stop you for 1 second? I'm still having trouble finding. I'm looking at what you've got there. Go back up to the.
I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna share it
No,
again
you
in the
can't. You
chat.
can't. You can't share it in the chat. There's no chat.
You're
That's why
sure?
I'm asking.
Okay.
Can you just let me see what's there? I want to make sure I have the right thing. Just go to example event components again.
I have no idea where you are.
That's, oh dear. Did you? I have a feeling this is still a different document that I'm looking at. We should hang on a minute.
Also, Caitlin, thank you for your comments. If those were your comments.
So I'm there.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
I
they were
wasn't
good.
sure the best way to get it back to you.
Now I'm
No,
in the
I
right.
actually
Now I'm in
really
the right
appreciate
one.
it. Thank you.
Yeah.
They were very helpful, especially in terms of answering some questions before we go through all of this. So thank you. So can I go on?
Yeah, I did. For some reason, the link that I was using was completely different. It was still this big document, but it was an 11-page document, not a 9-page document. And yeah, I still there seem to be several copies of this. Running around.
Okay.
But okay.
So let's look at the ECAC booth. This is just thoughts that I had. I know we just got the dashboard, so that's what I meant by interactive dashboard. I know that at the retreat, we also kind of looked at where we are towards our 2025. That's a scary thought to think that we're in 2025 already. Kind of goals, things like that. So that's also something that could be presented at the booth, but the booth could also just be solely educational in terms of heat pumps, etc. If anyone has knowledge, they also kind of want to show up to a bunch of people that think they already know everything. This is like a good opportunity. Yeah, Caitlin.
I wonder if, I don't know if Amherst does have any updates for transportation or any changes within the PBTA. But if there are any public transport changes or updates, maybe we could add those to this booth.
Yeah. Okay. And then this third is where I was thinking about Marina Gallant and CET for some home energy efficiency specific knowledge. This one also is open to whomever may be willing to lead this activity. Otherwise, if we can agree on these activities in terms of the flow of the event, I can send this to Elevate. Once Elevate agrees, which they will, I can then again make a project plan and a
So this
project timeline.
this is going to be in the middle of the heat pump program in time for the second round of information session. So maybe we should include that here under resources.
Great.
Local non-local.
And are you thinking CET?
It could be CET, it could be a ECAC, just once part of what ECAC does. But I think it should be a separate booth that people can go to.
I understand.
CET, I think, is doing their own thing and is contracted to do specific things, and we can't spend their time, but we can certainly advertise there, maybe by having our own booth.
Yes. Yes. This event will also have Elevate research posters in the space. So I think it actually should have something more local as well in terms of a resource. Great.
Nice.
Any other thoughts?
I like the live demonstration of energy tracking tools.
That is fun. Okay, we kind of nerd out about that in our own meetings, but it is quite fun to track energy. Great. That's all I really wanted to do with this today. But like I said, I can take the next steps and we can start
We could,
specifying roles.
I see resources. I'm trying to get my head around what the different, if the resources is going to be if you want a lot of booths, you could also ask people like LEA or Moms Out Front to be there.
Great.
And Valley Green Energy,
Yeah,
local energy.
that's a great idea.
Moms Out Front, yeah. Sort of a mid-year, a sustainability festival in between the sustainability festival. Mini version.
So, again, if you guys have comments, please add them to this or get them to me so I can address them.
Yeah. Activity.
Tony, can you tell me your timeline again for that event?
The event, when it would occur, would be end of May, early June.
Oh, somehow I thought it was next fall. Oh, I know why I thought it was next fall. It's May or June. Okay, so it's immediately after the sustainability fair.
Mm-hmm. Did you need any other information, Stephanie? Okay.
That's it for now, but I've got to look
Great.
over it again. And
Once you get your edits and update
Yeah.
it, we'll take a look at it.
Thank you.
So are you looking for more input in the way of comments in the next? What's the next step?
Yes, I would like input just specifically on personnel that could fill in some of the spaces for these events.
Okay, so
Because depending on that will also depend on the effort, which means like the funds and kind of the outreach necessary to get them
Yes.
involved in the community.
okay, so that should definitely be in the minutes that we're all being asked to give our input on organizations, people to include in this event.
Great.
Okay. And with a link to the correct document.
Yes, I'll send that to Stephanie if you don't mind sending that out again, that'd be awesome.
Okay, anything else on that? Any more discussion? If not, I just wanted to give a little bit of more of a discussion than just an update on what's going on in Northampton and with a sort of a local group of heat pump coaches and advocates that are putting together, that are trying very hard to put together a program. And I think they'll succeed sometime soon. It looked like it was close. They're going to start meeting in earnest, I think. And where's my notes? Yeah, so this is something that's being spearheaded by Eric Broadbent, who some of you may know. They're calling it Northampton, well, they have a mailing list called Northampton Energy Coaching. But they're hoping to expand it to include the Valley Green Energy group of communities at least. So they first wanted to point out that the Heat Smart Alliance, if anybody is interested in heat pump coaching, heat pump in energy coaching or heat pump coaching course in a really good energy coaching course, Heat Smart Alliance is running their course again. They are currently very much oversubscribed, but Eric Broadbent is one of the organizers this time, so he's going to have some say, I think, in deciding which cohort gets in. And I think he's going to be, I hope he's going to be prioritizing some of the folks around here who are trying to get this program together. So I don't know if that will happen or not, but it's worth your while. If you're interested in it, contact me and I'll send you the link to sign up for the Heat Smart Alliance's next coaching course. It's 6 weeks, runs either on Wednesdays or Thursdays around lunchtime for a couple hours. At noon, it looks like Wednesday or Thursday at noon, and I think each class is a couple hours. So if you have Wednesday or Thursday at noon free, you might want to, and you're interested in this, you might want to sign up. He also says that the Northampton Climate Emergency Coalition, NCEC, has an energy coaching working group, and they've made a funding proposal to fund a web platform hosted by Mass Energize, which is actually sort of interesting. I wanted to share this quickly. I still have it up here just to show folks what this looks like. Let me find it. That's the wrong one. This is what I want. Yeah. Is that it? That's it. That's it. Okay, so Mass Energize. Let me just share this real quick. Not the entire screen, just this. There. Okay, so I think you should be able to see that now, right? The Mass Energize website. They have an interesting website with a lot of stuff on it, but one of the more interesting parts of it, if you click around a bit, I think under, I don't know if it's under Home or Actions, Teams, About Us, somewhere in here, you get to this page. Oh, not that page, this page, which is massenergize.org/communities. And these are communities that have heat pump coaching programs, or other programs that are related. And this is really interesting. A lot of their pages, they have a sort of a uniform look. They have this number of actions. This is what I was thinking of when I asked Marina, right? This is the number of actions they've completed, the number of households they've touched, and what their goals are in trying to get people converted, whether it's converted to heat pumps or putting in solar, or there's different programs here that have different goals, I believe. But it's sort of cool. And I think the Northampton folks are thinking of, getting themselves an entry on this page and a page sponsored by Mass Energize that would also serve to funnel, if you're interested, if you're looking for help putting in a heat pump. This is after our heat pump program ends. Presumably there'll be some sort of website left in place, but this is the sort of thing Northampton is thinking of doing with the wider community. Putting together something that if you want help, let's see, do they have something here? Grants received, take action. I don't know which ones. This is Harvard. Make your plan, so this would be a place where if you had a heat pump program, you could say contact a coach. And it would be a way to funnel clients to coaches, people who are interested in getting help to coaches. I think that's what they have in mind. So I just wanted to point out this massenergize.org site, which is interesting.
What does Amherst have to do we have to launch our own website in order to get added to this?
Well, I think that the heat pump program is going to have a website, but the Northampton guys that are thinking of doing this with a larger, like sort of the Valley Green Energy, all three communities, they pay $3,000 to get a website here. So that's their fee for putting together a website here and sponsoring it for them. And that's sort of what Mass Energize does, is they sponsor these websites with these dashboards. And it just seems to me that if what you have is a wider area heat pump program, heat pump coaching program, this might be a very nice thing to join with you know, the local with Northampton and with Pelham to do something like this. At any rate, that's what they're going to do. And it's probably going to have Northampton's name on it, at least for starters, is my take on what they're saying. I'm not quite sure how that's going to work. Because the third thing that, if I can stop sharing now, just get back to my notes here. The third thing that he mentioned is that, you know, so Northampton is probably going to be doing this platform, this web platform hosted by Mass Energize. But they're interested in a wider group to coordinate things like training and coach sharing, to include the 3 communities represented in the Valley Green Energy Aggregation Program, as well as East Hampton. And he knows about our heat pump program. So right now there are these separate things, but I think Eric and some others are envisioning this as a area resource as we grow the coaches in the area. And, you know, Eric and I've already served as a assistant for a Rewiring America program. I put together a course that touched on a lot of these materials, and Eric is now going to be helping to teach the Heat Smart Alliance program. So we're getting enough expertise in the area to teach our own heat pump coaching, course, if folks are interested. So I think he's envisioning that down the line as well. So if you're interested in learning more about this or being part of it, let me know and I'll put you in contact with Eric. And that goes for any members of the public who are listening as well. If anyone listens to this afterwards, you know, this is something that's just open right now that folks are just starting to put together. So. And that was all I wanted to mention. I figured it was a little more than just an update, so I wanted to list it separately. If there's no other questions or discussion, Laura, have you had a chance to work on a draft letter regarding the UMass climate plan?
Yes, I have. I'm sorry I did not have a chance to do it early enough to share with everyone,
Well,
but I can show it on my screen.
And while you're getting that, I should say that the UMass, led by me and a few other people, 9 faculty member, a letter went to the chancellor on Thursday or Friday of last week, spelling out, and I can share that with you. It's essentially public, so I'll share it with you, Laura, so you can see the points that the faculty picked on. And it was distributed pretty widely within UMass and to a few people outside. It was only signed by about a dozen key faculty in different areas who are leaders in different, who were involved in the original climate plan or are leaders in their own right of other programs.
Okay, yeah, it'd be great to see that. I can't, for some reason, also see the screen, so you'll have to let me know if it looks okay. Can make it bigger. So just to refresh the conversation a little bit as I remembered it, we wanted to, as you know, there's different, we all wear different hats and we have different abilities to influence based on our own remit. So it was discussed at our last meeting that we would draft a letter that really kind of focused in on what ECAC's role would be here, which is, you know, our concern for the town of Amherst meeting our own goals and what impact this could or could not have on that. So I will share this email with everyone so you can read it in more detail. And I haven't had a chance to fully proofread it yet, so there's probably some edits that need to be made. But just to go over it, sort of the framing of it, I start with just a little bit of, you know, background on our goals, why we have goals, what they're based on. Not that Paul doesn't know that, but I think it's always helpful to start at the big picture. Then I talk a little bit about, you know, UMass Amherst has a fossil fuel powered combined heat and power facility. whose emissions need to be reduced to meet the goals set by the state, that UMass has a commitment to 100% renewable energy, flagging that there are a mixture of approaches that could be taken to achieve this goal, noting that several higher education institutions with similar systems are investing in electrification, and that in the slide deck that you shared, Lori, UMass has presented a plan that includes some electrification combined with the use of a renewable diesel fuel. So then
It's
go ahead.
Specifically in their, I mean, the specifically in their power plant.
Yes.
That's the big problem. That was never part of any plan that UMass, that the Climate Mitigation Task Force approved.
Yes. Well, none of that are things that we as ECAC
Yeah.
can speak
Right.
to. But I
just
can
to be
add
clear,
here.
it's not just a little bit of a supplement. It would be, their plan is to convert their gas, their methane burning, their natural gas burning cogeneration plant, which is 76% efficient, which is a miracle, and relatively low polluting, to a diesel driven, dirty.
Yes, I do get to that.
Okay.
It's not low polluting. It emits almost 100,000 metric tons of CO2.
Yeah. Relative.
So basically, based on our conversation last time in my review of the PowerPoint presentation,
Yeah.
I've laid out 3 areas of questions. The first being related to just the controversy of bio-based fuels, given the uncertainty of their life cycle reduction in GHG emissions due to land use change. There's also, of course, they're still being combust, which contributes to air quality concern. And then the stock can be limited. So even if you're choosing a bio-based fuel based on its favorable land use change impacts, that could change on a dime. So basically there's a set of questions related to that. What expectations is UMass setting on their supplier? How is that supplier going to guarantee that those expectations are being met? I think we talked a bit last time about whether or not how appropriate it is to scale emissions evaluations of a test burner to a large burn of the fuel. The second question hinges on how you actually disclose these emissions and whether it's actually going to help UMass meet the goals. Currently, Mass DEP requires facilities that disclose emissions to report fossil and biogenic separately, but then they're summed together to provide the total, which would not provide a benefit. And then there's also, reporting separately is not the same as considered zero. So question about that. And then this is a simplified way to get to your point, Lori, which is that, we commend UMass Amherst for their high efficiency facility, which is optimized for use with natural gas. What impacts does this shift have on the efficiency? And if the supply of renewable diesel is interrupted, would we need to switch back to traditional diesel fuel, which emits more kilograms of CO2 per MMBTU?
Yeah.
So I don't want to wordsmith this here because you all haven't had a chance to look at it, but I wanted to just see if there were any other overarching questions that we feel like we need to add here, or are these the right ones to share with Paul as a starting point?
I mean, offhand, seeing it right now, it looks pretty good. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I think, Laura, you mentioned the air quality aspect. Was that one of the things you highlighted?
Yes.
Okay. Test burn. I guess I'll certainly look at this in detail, but I would say just the air pollution from burning this on a regular basis will be significant. Not CO2, but health adverse air pollution, particulates and sulfur and whatnot.
Exactly. And so I think maybe I could be more clear there. I'm referring to the presentation, and my plan is
Okay.
to attach it to this memo because I don't think it's available online anywhere. But if Lori, you know where it is, I can link it.
It is, but it's in an internal website.
Okay.
So I would just attach it because it is part of the Senate documents, the UMass Senate, and those are public documents, although for some reason they post them on an internal website. But I asked before distributing it if that was an okay thing to do, and was told explicitly that all Senate documents are considered public.
Okay.
So,
Just not publicly available.
right. Well, they're available to
heard-
anybody inside who has a UMass credential, right, which is not public.
How many pages? This looks kind of on the long side, maybe?
So yeah, it's about a page and a half.
Oh, okay, that's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Or maybe I guess it's 2 when you I spaced it out a lot. So, but
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started off with a page and a half in mine, but written by about half a dozen faculty members, it ended up 4 pages. So,
Yeah, we could take out some of the intro stuff. I mean, it's not really for Paul. I know he knows it, but I think it's more for anybody who might read this who maybe is less familiar with why we have these goals in the first place.
I think it's wise because at this, hopefully the town council members will all read this as well, members of the public. So we kind of consider council members and members of the public as the audience, not just Paul.
Yeah, and actually I should probably, well, I can talk
you can send a copy to the.
do we want to copy the town council? Is that appropriate?
I think folks ought to know. This is going to impact everybody. I mean, that's sort of my take on this, right? It's going to impact everyone, and everyone who lives in the valley and the planet. So, you know, it's disturbing to me. So since this came to my attention that renewable diesel is being used now in power plants, the TVA has tested it. I don't know if that was something I was aware of at the last meeting. What's going on right now is frightening. Every major company is ramping up to do biofuels in Brazil, which means palm, which means cutting down forests and putting in palm oil trees. And nobody's stopping them yet. It's ramping up very fast, and hopefully you'll be seeing some of this in the news in the next couple of months, if not earlier. But I'm been trying to get the attention of environmental journalists with some success. In particular, the guy who well, probably shouldn't talk about it here, but at any rate, it's I think this is something people need to know about. It's larger than just UMass, and it's disastrous. I will take a very close look at this, Laura, and see if I can add anything or
Yeah, that sounds great. I'll share it with Stephanie right now, so you all can have it, and then maybe we can shoot to finalize it.
next time.
If people want to give me comments back before the next meeting, we can finalize it then.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Laura. That's very helpful.
Just a reminder,
When documents are shared, I just have to put them in the packet.
Yeah.
So they're already public documents, but, and Tony, the same, I need just the draft that you shared tonight.
Yeah. All right, let's see, where are we? View of draft letter. Okay, back to our usual list of education and outreach stuff. Any updates on any of this? Don, Pace?
I don't have any particular update on PACE, but there is something that came to my attention, which I think is kind of fascinating and may dovetail into our green bank, and the kind of the broader question of financing uh, transitions. The college I went to actually has a 414 plan, so they have a January term where professors and alums offer an unusual course that's not part of the normal curriculum. And one of the courses this January term was a course that a woman alum had put on, who's a member of the New York State Green Bank. And it was a course in climate and energy finance. And they are offering the opportunity for other alums of the college to kind of have a 1-hour Zoom session with her next Wednesday, which I'm going to attend. Basically, it's discussing market players and tools in climate and energy finance, and surveys how to finance or mobilize capital to finance clean energy, largely in the U.S. energy market and other climate forward outcomes. As I said, she works at the investment and portfolio management team at the New York Green Bank. So I'm going to listen to that 1-hour presentation next Wednesday afternoon. And to the extent that it's applicable to PACE or kind of other financing vehicles, I'll report back.
That sounds really interesting. Thanks, Don. Look forward to hearing about it. Especially with the incoming administration, I think it's going to be more important for us to all understand this stuff. All right, what's up next? Okay, heat pumps, I've already given my longer spiel about that. Climate resilient schools, I've got nothing more to report there. Did I miss anything? I don't think so. Advisory and support, rental building efficiency bylaw. Steve? Hi, Steve.
Not much new on that front. There was the community phone call last week that I listened into. We're still kind of that group is still kind of getting organized. There was a presentation, I'm blanking on who gave it, but on sort of the strategies, one of these companies that provides energy efficiency services, gave a good presentation on what we should be looking for and emphasized things that we have already been doing, like connecting with the community, speaking to the renters, finding out what they need and want and what their wishes are. So a little bit of information, and hopefully we'll continue to get some more. Nothing outstanding yet.
The draft solar bylaw, anything there? Anything more there?
I did listen into the CRC meeting last night, and while it was on the agenda, they were too busy with a different matter, so they did not continue the update last night.
Okay.
But Stephanie may know more.
Any more on that, Stephanie? No?
Okay.
I think last we heard, given the situation at the state level and the change in rules there, it's all up in the air right now anyway, right? So
that's my guess. I think CRC is still planning to continue working through developing the bylaw to and ultimately bring it to council for their review.
That is correct, Steve. That is the plan. Right now, they're just working on another zoning issue. So that was something that had to move forward more immediately. So that's why and it has taken some time. So hopefully they'll be wrapping that up at their next meeting and moving on to solar again.
okay, transportation, Tony? Nothing?
No updates.
Regional and state policy updates. I have not been paying attention because I have been absorbed in the local problem of renewable diesel. So I don't think I have anything there. Staff updates?
I have a few. I guess I'll start with the really exciting news is that over the holiday break, I actually was working on finalizing our application to become a climate leader community. And part of that was that the town needed to adopt both a zero emissions vehicle policy and a decarbonization plan. If you recall, we received funding from Mass DOER to put together the decarbonization plan. The schools were also required to adopt both documents, both the vehicle policy and the decarbonization plan. When I say schools, I want to be specific that it's the local schools. It is not the regional school district, which is sometimes confusing for our town. So it was just basically the elementary schools. So the school superintendent and the town manager met with me just before the holiday, and then after Christmas, both signed and adopted both documents. So we were able to submit our application completely. And so now I'm just waiting to hear if we receive the designation. And if we receive the designation, that will open us up to significant funding towards a building decarbonization project. So that's very exciting. So that's the really big good news. Excuse me, the unfortunate news is I had told you all that very last minute I put together an application for us to participate in the Mass Save Community First partnership energy advocate funding opportunity, and we did not receive that funding because they ended up receiving way more applications than they anticipated they would, which is a good thing. So, but unfortunately, I think it was funny, they said that, you know, the salary rate would have to be at least $30 per hour, and ours was $35 an hour, and I was questioned as to why it was so high. I thought, I don't know that that's so high over what you were saying the absolute minimum salary rate would be, but apparently, given their oversubscribed applications and limited funding, it sort of unfortunately made us ineligible, which was also true, I want to say, for the city of Greenfield too, because I was in touch with their energy director, and you know, she and I spoke about applying for this program, and we had very similar requests and funding offerings and salaries, and neither one of us got it. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. Also, I know that this has been circulating that Mass Save also has an opportunity for funding to fund an energy manager position for 3 years. We are not eligible because you have me. So you already have a full-time staff person. This is really for communities that don't have anybody at all. Greenfield isn't eligible, Northampton isn't eligible. So it really is for communities that have absolutely no support in doing any of this work. So just in case you see it or catch wind of it, or people reach out to you and say, why aren't we doing this? We looked into it, we just can't.
Right.
So I think those are kind of the biggest updates I wanted to give you. I think the zero emissions vehicle policy is timely because it's pretty much in effect immediately. But as we enter into the budget season, vehicle requests often happen, and so this will really pertain to those. But I want to say, actually, most of our vehicle requests have been either exempt vehicles because they're emergency vehicles, or they are, our staff is really looking for electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles. The police department is looking at hybrid vehicles, and you know, it's just really exciting to actually have that be the case. Like I said, it's not always been that way, so it's really great to see us evolve, moving in that direction. So overall, I would just say good, really great. You know, that's great news. And in these times where things aren't always, you know, we don't hear a lot of great news. I just want to say that I think, you know, the work of this town is, you know, we're moving in the right direction, and that's really great, really exciting. And it's for the efforts of all. everybody, is working together on this now, and that's great.
Yeah, this is all good, Stephanie. Thanks for all your work on these different projects and trying to pull everything together at last minute, and yeah, it's all good. Thank you. All right, so I think ECAC member updates are next. Anyone have an update? If there are no further updates, then we can talk about the agenda items for next time. And open for public comment if anyone's here. So I think the agenda items, we're going to talk about Laura's letter. We'll continue to talk about Tony's plan for this joint activity next May. And we'll ask for your input on both of those between now and the next meeting. And I think I would like to add one other agenda item, which is maybe just trying to identify someone to be a vice chair so that we have a smooth transition when the time comes. I'm planning on being here a while longer, but would love to hand this job off to somebody else at some point. Stephanie.
I just realized when I gave updates, and I had mentioned that we didn't receive the Community First Partnership for an Energy Advocate.
Right.
When we had proposed that, it was really built to support the effort for the heat pump program. That was going to be a real a real big focus for that position if we did get the funding. So I think Lori and you and I had discussed how we are going to maybe mobilize community members for supporting that program, and if we can sort of have something that's more specifically organized with a community captain, if you will, and a coaching team. So I know you brought up what Eric's working on, but I feel like that seems to be something that maybe you as a committee would be behind in supporting. So maybe we put that on the agenda for next time.
Sure. So you're thinking of something to support the CET program.
Well, yeah, to support the heat, because I think we had talked about heat pump coaching regardless of our heat pump program.
Yeah.
Just something that's going to live on after that.
Yeah.
That's going to wrap up in 2026, which will happen pretty quickly. And so after that time, continuing getting people involved and to convert to heat pumps. We had always talked about having something more structured where there'd be like, maybe neighborhood groups that would exist in different neighborhoods, and there would be like maybe a point person in each neighborhood. So, this was just the ideas that were floating. I'm not saying it has to be structured this way. I'm just saying that, this is what we had discussed in the past. That was an idea that had come about. So now is the time to really try to pull something together. I have one community member who was interested in supporting. They had reached out to me about the heat pump program, and I think there's somebody who's interested. I don't think they want to lead it, but they would certainly like to be part of it and support it in some way. So, we could just put this on the agenda and talk about it.
So this is people supporting the program either as coaches or just as advocates for funneling people to the CET program or to energy coaches, or wherever they need to be funneled. Just someone who's doing the connecting stuff. That's what you're thinking, like a committee of people doing that work.
Right.
Yeah, okay. That would be a good thing to, let's just stick it on the agenda as its own thing. It doesn't have to be associated with the heat pump update or anything like that.
Yeah, I've got it as a separate item.
Okay. Other ideas, other thoughts? If not, then I think we're to public comment, but we have no public attendees today. So We do need to get the word out. I think we'd like to, as ECAC members, we will be called upon to help get the word out once the timing of the heat pump program public information sessions is announced. I think that's the point where we want to try to get the public in to those particular meetings. Stephanie, did you have something else? Okay. All right, so if there is there anything else? If not, I think we need a move to adjourn. Everyone just wants to sit here and
I'll move to adjourn.
thank you, Don.
I'll second that.
All right, and I think we don't need a vote on this one. We can do it by consensus or whatever it's called. At any rate, I'll see y'all in 2 weeks.
Take care.
All right.
Thank you all.
Take care. Bye.